Welcome to the Ordinary Council meeting of 19 November 2025. In the spirit of open, accessible and transparent government, Berwick Shire Council's meetings are recorded. By speaking at a council meeting, members of the public agree to being recorded. Berwick Shire Council accepts no liability for any defamatory, discriminatory or offensive remarks or gestures that are made during the course of the council meeting. Opinions expressed or statements made by individuals are the opinions or statements of those individuals and do not imply any form of endorsement by Berwick Shire Council. Confidential matters of council will not be recorded. Recordings are protected by copyright and owned by Berwick Shire Council. No part may be copied, recorded, reproduced or transmitted without the prior written consent of the CEO. Any recording is not and shall not be taken to be an official record of Berwick Shire Council meetings or the discussion depicted therein. Only the official minutes may be relied upon as an official record of the meeting. A recording of the council meeting will be taken for administrative and minute preparation purposes only and is provided to the public for listening purposes to support council statutory obligations. Berwick Shire Council acknowledges the traditional custodians of the lands on which we live and thrive. We pay our respects to their elders, past, present and emerging. The people of these great nations, their spirits and ancestors will always remain with our waterways and lands. Apologies, Councillor Stringer will be here imminently, so we'll record him initially as an apology. Do we have a mover for that?
Yep.
Councillor Payne, a seconder. Councillor Nadakoa, all in favour? Thank you, carried. We have any applications for leave of absence? No. Attendance via audio-visual link. We have Councillor Dennis and Councillor Brooker. Do we have a mover for that? Councillor Nadakoa, a seconder. Councillor Healy, all in favour? Thank you, carried. Confirmation of previous minutes. We have, can I move these together? Yep, recommendation to accept minutes of the Ordinary Council meeting held on the 15th of October 2025 and a recommendation to confirm the minutes of the Extraordinary Council meeting held on 30 October 2025. Do we have a mover? Councillor Brooker, a seconder. Councillor Payne, all in favour? Thank you, carried. Do we have any disclosures of interest? Nope. No Merrill minutes and no reports of committee. Items 8.1 through to 8.4 are receive and note as articulated in each of those recommendations. We'll move those as a block. Do we have a mover for those? Councillor Payne, a seconder. Councillor Nadakoa. I'll just go through in case there are any questions. So 8.1 is the investment report. 8.2 is actions from previous meetings. 8.3 are development determinations for September and October. And 8.4 is the operational plan review for the first quarter. Nothing there. Okay, so all in favour of the recommendations as they are articulated on the agenda? Thank you, carried. We're up to 8.5, which is the change to the starting time for the 3rd of December meeting. The recommendation is that Council move the start time for the 3 December 2025 Ordinary Council meeting to 9:30 a.m. to accommodate a citizenship ceremony to be conducted prior to the commencement of official business. Do we have a mover? Yep. Councillor Payne, a seconder. Councillor Brooker. Any questions or comments? All in favour of that recommendation? Thank you, carried. Up to 8.6, which is the annual report for 24-25. The recommendation is that Council adopt the attached annual report for 24-25 and a copy of the report be posted on the Council's website and provided to the Minister and any other persons or bodies as required by legislation. Do we have a mover? Councillor Healy, second to Councillor Dennis. I have some notes on some matters that need to be corrected. Perhaps if I go first and if others have more. On page 8 of the report, which I believe is 94 of the appendices, the meeting numbers do not look correct. There are some councillors from the last term who have different numbers to others. So could we please check those meeting numbers? And then page 55 of the report, which is 141 of our appendices, it says that there was no election year, which is incorrect. And it only has professional development for myself when it should have it for all of the councillors. There's also some grammar issues on that page. Does anyone else have any questions or comments?
Just one other correction. We've referred to the Southern Riverina Wellbeing Collaborative as a collective, and we just need to change that word in, I think it was your report and in the marks perhaps.
Yep.
Collaborative, not collective, yep.
Anyone else? No? Okay, all in favour of the recommendation with those amendments? Yep. Thank you, carried. Sorry?
That's right.
Your mic's not on.
No, that's okay. We'll pick that up. We'll have the corrections underneath the recommendation. So that's good.
Okay. 8.7 is the Agency Information Guide for 25-26. The recommendation is that Council, pursuant to Section 21 of the Government Information Public Access Act 2009, adopt the 25-26 Berrigan Shire Council Information Guide attached as Appendix 1. Do we have a mover? Councillor Payne, a seconder. Everyone's very quiet today. Councillor Healy, any questions or comments? No, all in favour of that recommendation? Thank you, carried. All right, we're up to the cemeteries policy and some proposed amendments. The recommendation is that Council revoke its cemetery policy that was adopted on 19 April 2023 and adopt the cemeteries policy attached to this report. Do we have a mover? Councillor Dennis, a seconder. Councillor Healy, does anyone have any questions or comments? I have a few. I note that in relation to commemorating an individual, it references 15 years. And I think we can have people who do wonderful things in 5 years or 10 years or 1 year, and I just thought that was limiting by stating a number of years. So I would suggest that we could remove the number of years. I don't know what others think of that. Any other views? Seeing nods, no objections. The other was that the policy, I think it's in 7.1, references the need to have support of a family member. And regrettably, and to some people in that who pass may not have family. And it would not be cool, in my opinion, if someone who does not have family and yet meets every other criteria not be commemorated due to a lack of family. Could we change that to family, executor or equivalent? Anyone got any?
What would equivalent be?
I don't know, but I wanted to leave some discretion if there was no executor.
Friend or like, I guess I'm wondering, do we need to have family as... I was wondering whether the family part was out of respect for the person, but also to let the family know if we're going to be, having a memorial for them. But where there's no family, it shouldn't mean that they can't.
No, that's right.
Yeah,
but then
I don't know the right way to word it, but I'm wondering whether it needs to be
7.1. So I think perhaps family, comma, executor, not family executor, 2 words. And maybe it does require a sentence as to the purpose, so that if there is an equivalent who could go, yep, that's fine to have the commemoration for this person, it's not going to upset us, then, because that's the purpose, isn't it?
I think you're just saying you don't want it to be limiting by having family if someone doesn't have a family member that can support it. Is that all?
Pretty
Yeah.
much.
Because ultimately it's saying you need a family member and 2 community members, so you need 3 people ultimately.
CEO?
One thought, and picking up on the last comment, you could say one family member or executor and 2 community members, or a certain number of community members. So you might have 3 or 5 or 6 or whatever number council would be comfortable with.
I'm
Because
comfortable with
it's
the
not,
two.
because it's not an as of, it will still have to go through a process,
Yeah.
but that, Andrew, it's your policy that you've written. What are your thoughts? Because it's still got to go through a process anyway, the application, and I can understand that someone may pass away without any family. It is possible.
My view is we're probably trying to do things on the fly. The easiest way is to just do there should be. So rather than it being a must, which is a mandatory, apply the discretion under the policy and have a should.
Yeah.
That leaves the discretion to the officers assessing it to apply what the principal is trying to get to.
I'm comfortable with should, but I still would like to see family or executor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
got that?
Yeah.
But just in regards to your numbers, if you have a should,
Yeah.
then you
Yeah,
have
that-
discretion.
That gives you some leeway.
Space.
So if we say that 7.1 should read, there should be a minimum of 1 family member or executor and 2 community members supporting this application.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, can we capture that? Thank you. And the other ones we've got,
Remove the 15 years.
remove the number of years. So what section's that?
That's in
Yes.
7.
7. Oh, yes. And so that would read, to be eligible for consideration, honoree must be deceased, interned in the cemetery, significant contributed to the community, and just take out for at least 15 years.
Yep.
Remove the reference to for at least 15 years in section 7, please.
Yep.
In section 7.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Just need to be mindful, we don't have a lot of space at our cemeteries either, so, yeah, we don't want to leave ourselves open to people, you know, wanting to have benches and gardens and stuff
For
everywhere.
everyone, yeah.
Of course, we want to honour, but also we just need to be mindful that, you know, there's not a lot of space at Barooga. There's, you know, we've already explored at Tocumwal that we need to find more room at Tocumwal. Finley, the old section is probably done. There's only the new section. And it's only a lawn cemetery, so we just need to, yeah, be mindful of that.
Any changes to the policy to reflect that, or that's just noted? Okay. Would you like to speak to that?
If I may. So there's hopefully going to be a new wall erected in Tocumwal. Those are the sort of things where some of the plaques could be erected without actually having any impact in regards to burial sites and other things. Note what you say about furniture. The intent here is though that we could have plaques that we could have fixed to walls.
Can I make a comment too?
Okay.
Can I make a comment?
Yes,
Just
of
this?
course.
Yeah, just to provide some extra context for the policy councillors, I actually think this is a good piece of policy because one of the challenges that councils are increasingly facing is people wanting to put memorials up in various different places. And there is one view, it's only one view, that the right place to have these is in cemeteries because that's where people generally put memorials rather than in our public parks and some of these sorts of places. So this policy actually, I think, updates our approach and starts and embeds that we can do this, do these sorts of recognitions in the appropriate place.
Okay.
Could I ask a question? Does that mean there'll be none allowed to go anywhere else? No, it's still open to that, but it's just the preference is at the cemetery. Thank you.
Okay. All in favour of the policy with the amendments that we've got listed there? Okay, thank you, carried. We're up to the Code of Meeting Practice. Hang on, scrolling. All right, the recommendation is that Council, in accordance with Section 361 of the Local Government Act, the draft Code of Meeting Practice be placed on public exhibition in order to facilitate community consultation and invite feedback on the proposed changes. The guidelines of public forums, guidelines which support the implementation of the draft Code of Meeting Practice be placed on public exhibition, and a further report be submitted to Council following the conclusion of the public exhibition period, summarise any submissions received and any further advice received from the Office of Local Government, presenting a final Code of Meeting Practice. Do we have a mover? Councillor Natikoa, a seconder. Councillor Payne. Does anyone have any questions or comments? I have some notes on this one. Sorry, I was very thorough this month. For the proposed guideline that's in the agenda, item 4.5, the second sentence is missing a couple of words. So applicants should ask specifically for remote participation. Then moving into the actual draft code, section 3.32A, the last sentence is missing some words in a similar fashion. It's on page 9 of the code. We have on pages 34 and 35 of the code the word adopted in random places. I think that's an error. And on pages 42 and 43, which are the definitions, the grammar of the definition of mayoral minute needs to be reviewed. And on 43, the definition for calendar day is incorrect. It's also not in alphabetical order or spelt correctly. Does anyone have anything else? No? Okay. Oh, sorry, Councillor Dennis.
Sorry. I just want to be sure that the numbers in the appendices and the ones with red writing that has been crossed out is meant to actually stay in there for public consultation.
I believe they're the optional clauses, and that's why they're struck out, so people know that.
Yeah, so they understand that they were optional and we've deleted them.
Yep,
Maybe-
I just want to make sure.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
Maybe we should include that on the front page. Yep. Anyone else? Okay, all in favour of that recommendation with those amendments? Thank you, carried. We're up to 8.10, which is Tocumwal phone coverage. The recommendation is that Council receive and note the Tocumwal phone coverage report in response to the notice of motion passed at the October 25 Council meeting. Note that a meeting with the Federal Minister for Communications Office in accordance with the request of 16 December has been granted for November 2025, and continue to support the Ramjo, Riverina and Murray River Regional Connectivity Project as a longer-term solution. Do we have a mover? Councillor Dennis, a seconder, Councillor Brooker. Any questions or comments? Councillor Dennis?
It's the time frame. I noticed that we are supportive and there has been meetings. Are we setting a time frame for a next level, say if it's not done within so many years?
CEO?
I think really the question was for another letter, did you say?
No, for resolution.
Oh, for resolution. Well, we are limited with what we can actually control on this. So our best option is just to continue to advocate, and I think we are getting some traction on that as we speak. And I note in the report that one of the major providers is looking at expanding their current infrastructure. So I just think we need to, this is one that we just need to keep plugging away at. Because we can't actually influence or make any of the providers actually install infrastructure.
Could I suggest that we make an amendment with an additional point, that that staff with the mayor and councillors develop an advocacy plan. Councillor
I
Dennis?
agree, because this could be, we could advocate continually, and if we don't get traction, because as you've identified, it is other providers that we're relying on for the coverage to happen, to have some sort of escalation and some sort of timeframe would be great to look at what we can do with next steps of planning, because this could go on for 5, 10, 15 years.
Some advocacy never gets resolved. It's just the way it is, unfortunately. But if we have an advocacy plan, then at least we'll have a plan to continue making arguments. That won't be for 5 or 10 years, though. That'll be an advocacy plan for, say, the next 12 to 18 months. Are the mover and seconder happy with that addition? That's Councillor Dennis and Councillor Brooker? Yep.
Yes.
Would you like that to come back in February or March or?
I don't
when?
think it needs to come back to council
Okay.
unless you do. I think we can do it just together. Yep. Any other comments?
I was just going to say, so Councillor Dennis says that this could go on for 10 or 15 years. It's already gone on for 20 years. So,
Yeah.
and outside of, consistent advocacy and this seat becoming a what's the word I'm looking for? Sorry.
Swinging one?
Well, yeah, that's right, or become a minor seat, like a minor seat. We're going to have to start to look at ways that we can, address these problems on our own. Not so much council, but the community itself. Whether it's private investment, whether it's business, whether it's community, whether it's council, local government, because at the end of the day, you have a look at the map, and I think there's been one tower erected in this region, or in our region, if we call it, out at Savernake in the last 20 years. So realistically, and we've had, the same sitting member for the last 20-something years in Farrer. So until we become a minor seat, or might give us a little bit more capacity, because I guarantee if you go and do a straw poll on the weekend, Councillor Stringer, you'll find plenty of people to add to your submission.
Yep.
I wouldn't give them a rest. They'd hear from me every week,
No, it's great.
every Monday,
Yep.
bang. And that's what I did, and it worked.
Mm.
I got my own phone tower. I got my own internet dish, but I didn't let up on them. I just rang them constantly, threatened them with legal action non-stop. And we just need to do that on a bigger basis, which means if we're going to have an advocacy plan, then we need to attack them every week or every month. Don't back off.
Well, I do have a meeting with the Minister Wells, the Comms Minister's office, not the Minister herself, but her senior advisor, and the Department of Communications next Tuesday in Canberra. So that is a big step forward. It's not a solution. But the
You want me to come
universal...
with you?
Sorry?
You want me to come with you? You won't like the outcome, but something might
I'd like
happen.
to stay friends with them for the moment because we want something from them. The universal outdoor mobile obligation is a real opportunity for us, particularly for the farmers, but it will also assist with what's happening in Tocumwal. So I think we really need to give them a rev up, and they're quite enthusiastic to hear from us, to have some examples, I think. So that will be good. Anything else on this topic? No? All right. All in favour of that resolution? Thank you, carried. All right, we're up to 9.1, which is about school buses. Councillor Payne has put forward a motion that a report be provided to the January 26 meeting of council to provide the difference between informal school bus stops and appointed school bus stops. process that for the identification and placement of bus stops, including council's role, and what are the requirements to be addressed installing and maintaining a bus stop. Do we have a seconder for that one? Councillor Natikoa, would you like to speak to this, Councillor Payne?
Thanks, Mayor. This one was a bit tricky to try once you sort of dove into it. There's about 300 odd bus stops within our shire on its own, but just trying to work out a bit of consistency, safety and clear communication between not only schools, bus operators and families on how it all works in this dynamic, because there is quite a few bus stops that are not up with the advice and the safety aspects from what I've seen.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Councillor Hannan?
Is this not explained in the actual appendices, the questions that have been asked there? I wouldn't suggest that those 300 bus stops are all active. My understanding is with the bus operators is that that they pick up and move where the population is. I've had people over a period of time request to me to get bus stops at the front of their property, and there might be a bus stop that's half a kilometre or a kilometre up the road. That picks up centrally, might pick up 7-10 kids at that central space. I just don't understand what our role is, or what you're asking our staff to do with this when we have an appendix there from the government to say who actually is in control of bus stops, which is the New South Wales government and the bus operators.
So the last traffic meeting I was at, they sort of handballed it, and even when we had Councillor Marriott here, they sort of were handballing it all to council in the beginning anyway, and there is, it's been said that there is school bus coordinators at the schools where there is not, and there's not really anywhere clear as to who's maintaining these bus stops and ensuring that the kids are safe. You've got kids being picked up on intersections and blind bends, and there is just no safety around it at all. So just trying to get a bit of clarity.
So what I'm saying is, if the clarity comes back that it's our responsibility to do that, how do we propose to do that?
I don't know. Just.
So do you need to expand the resolution slightly, CEO?
Well, I think what I would propose is see what comes back, and that would be the subsequent report that you might request after we bring back. This is basically a general information to inform council that if they then want to take further steps in this area, once they understand the role of council and what our options are and what the issues are, that would be probably the next step when this comes back. When you receive and note that report, you then ask for the next steps, should you wish to.
So the officers are going to go out and speak to every bus operator in the Berrigan Shire and all the people that have their kids picked up. Is that the process?
We have a pointed layer where the Transport New South Wales give us a layer where the appointed bus stops are. We can't, we don't know where the informal school bus stops are because that's just between the schools and the bus. The appointed school buses.
Is it between the schools and the bus, or is it between the family and the bus operators? I wouldn't have thought the schools would be involved in it.
The schools provide the school buses, operators and Transport New South Wales on the appointed ones with a list of school kids to the state government to make sure they're listed to get picked up.
Correct.
Because Transport New South Wales, they give the bus operators money to drive these buses past and pick these kids up at these appointed bus stops.
Whereas, at the stop, not the child.
At the stop to pick up how many kids are going to be at that. Because there's designated spots where they're supposed to be picked up. The buses have got GPS units on them, and they're designated stops where they're supposed to stop on these appointed bus routes. But the informal ones, that's a different point of view because, as you know, there's Victorian school buses that come into our shire that haven't got approval to where to stop and that sort of stuff. That's between the schools and those kids because the schools are generally getting those bus companies to pick those kids up.
I wouldn't have thought the interstate buses coming in and picking up kids would have been the issue. I'm thinking what Councillor Payne's saying is the residents of the Berrigan Shire and having a clear, am I right in that, and saying where there's clear clear and maintain bus stops for, say, your children or Councillor Healy's or Councillor Natikoa's children to be picked up, because the interstate, I mean, the ones that come across the border, they would just have one specific place that they pick their kids up from. I mean, it's in Finley, it's directly opposite on the Memorial Hall. That's where two buses pull up there every day.
I'm not too sure because they're informal. And we
I'm
don't
just
know
saying,
that,
I don't think that's.
If you remember correctly, I think it was just over 12 months ago, no, it was a bit longer than that, 2 years ago, we had the Cobram bus stopping out the front, double parking out the front. And I think that those sorts of bus stops should be included as well, because that was, we had, especially in harvest time, you had B doubles or triples and everything coming down either direction, and this bus, everyone trying to bypass each other. And I'm finding that with quite a few of the bus stops, that the buses aren't, regardless of whether they're just interstate or whether they're local buses, it's the same with them all. They're all double parking or not having sufficient
Space
to pull off the roads.
And some of them aren't even signposted as
No.
bus stops, but you can
But
see
they're
that
not
the
all
buses,
formal. They're not all appointed,
Yeah.
so
No,
there
they're
is a
appointed,
difference. Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah,
we'll get
but-
to the bottom of this in the
Yes.
report. Councillor Dennis has got her hand up.
It was also about the bus stops being on the council roads and council land and making sure they were adequate enough for the buses to pull over onto. Some of them are actually really quite muddy and full of potholes. So it was more about going beyond the safety of the children, but also going upon the where the areas are that they are being picked up and making sure that we have the infrastructure for the buses to pull over to pick them up.
So I don't think that forms part of this resolution, however. That may be the next step. I think we need to get to the bottom of the facts and then we deal with what we do next. Councillor Stringer.
Well, up the facts, I can only speak on Victoria because I was actually part of a bus company when it came in. Wherever a school bus pulls up and it has its flashing lights on, that's a bus stop. And you are supposed to obey the law of slowing down to a maximum of 40 k's if it's safe, or to stop until the bus moves off. So maybe we should be just reminding the general public of what happens when a bus stops. It doesn't have to be at a piece of road where there's a bus stop. Wherever a bus stops, that's a bus stop.
Yep.
So maybe our role is to remind the general public of that.
All right, so we'll put that to the vote. All in favour of the resolution as it's been moved here? Can I see hands? Yep, thank you, carried. All right, 9.2, we have a notice of motion from Councillor Payne relating to a desexing program. The request is that a report come to council in February 2026 outlining the number of animals surrendered to council on an annual basis, council's role in managing and responding to the dumping of animals through enforcement, education and support services under state companion animal laws, and options for grant funding that are available for provision of a free desexing program, and council's role. Do we have a seconder for that? Councillor Natikoa. Councillor Payne, would you like to speak to that?
Thank you. This one, I'm hoping that it will help not only reduce animal issues in our community, but the money's out there. Why can't we have it in our shire? Why can't it benefit our community if there's free desexing? Just trying to find out what our animal surrender numbers are. And I did see in the media today that they're trying to crack down in New South Wales on backyard breeding as well. And I think that getting this through will help with some of that and help our community.
Can I just have some clarification? Are
Yep.
you suggesting that we only desex the animals that are returned, or is that going to be open to the whole public?
Open to the whole community.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, all in favour of that motion? Thank you, carried.
Thank you.
Okay, 9.3 is a notice of motion from myself. That's that a report be brought to the January council meeting outlining the process for council to reduce speed limits to 40 kilometres per hour to better manage traffic and pedestrians in Vermont Street, Baruga, and Deniliquin Street, Tocumwal. Do you have a seconder?
Yeah.
Councillor Payne. Councillor Healy, you were suggesting an addition.
Yeah, if we could add Chanter Street, Berrigan onto that as well.
Are you happy with that, Councillor Payne?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I'm happy with that. Any questions or comments?
Just a question. Murray Street in Finley, is that already 40?
Sections of it,
Like, yeah, I'm talking the main
CBD
strip.
part is,
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Just wanted to confirm that.
Can I, clarification again? Didn't we get knocked back in Deniliquin Street, Tocumwal through traffic committee?
Yes, but there's new guidelines and accident changed in the last year or so. So with the report that'll come back, it'll describe that what these changes are and the new process and the understanding around making sure that you get community feedback support, identify accounts around if there's a high pedestrian activity area, say for that town. So because it used to be just numbers, say for a CBD, and they were comparing, say, Melbourne or with, say, a Berrigan, you're not going to get those numbers, whereas these considerations have changed a little bit in that space. So, yeah.
Anything else? Okay, sorry, Councillor Stringer.
Deniliquin Street, Tocumwal. I started pushing for 40 kilometres an hour 3 years ago. Why is it only coming to a head now?
Because the laws have changed and we couldn't do it beforehand.
Yet, at the same time, they managed to drop the speed limit from 100 down to 80 on the way out of town heading out towards Pumps Beach. And all of that, where it wasn't required. And somebody was hit by a car again in Deniliquin Street 2 weeks ago. This sort of thing just takes
Clarification,
too
they
long.
weren't hit.
Sorry, Councillor Dennis, we missed that.
Just a clarification as they were not hit. I attended.
Okay, so there was an accident. We'll get a report, we'll find out what the process is, and then I think we're all in furious agreement that we need to work out what to do because there are issues, and now there's some power that we did not previously have. So, all in favour of that recommendation with the amendment? Okay, thank you, carried. While our agenda doesn't indicate there are confidential matters, I will be going into closed council to provide a verbal update on our CEO recruitment. So could I get someone to move us into closed council? Councillor Payne, second to Councillor Natakawa, all in closed council where we discussed confidential matters relating to CEO recruitment. Moving now to item 11 being motions without notice and questions without notice. Do we have any? Councillor Payne?
Just wanting an update where we're at with Foundry Park. There's supposed to be a report coming back to council on the issues.
The
The
drainage and the toilets and to get the mural.
Yeah, so currently at the moment, the design, it's in the design department, they're looking at the drainage, they've gone out and did the surveying, but it's on hold at the moment around that design because we're concentrating on higher priority projects to do around grant funding needs to be done and applied for in the next 2 or 3 weeks, so yeah.
Okay, thank you. I got another one. The sale yards, are they still having inspections? I know when we went through the whole process, they were meant to have annual inspections or were meant to get annual
Audit.
reports on the QRS or something.
By us, by council you're talking about, or by the livestock?
It was both for memory. Council were going to do annual inspections
On facilities?
on facilities to make sure,
Okay.
ensure they were compliant and that the things that we had outlined in the lease were completed.
Okay, all right.
I
Well, we
think it
can
was an
follow that up.
audit requirement within the lease. It was supposed to be anyway.
Okay.
It was what, sorry?
There was an audit requirement.
An audit, but so we wouldn't be doing the audit, it would be,
I think they had to do the audit.
they would have to do an external, yes, and they do. I do know they have been having audits because they've actually inquired
Okay.
about some things with me, but council inspections, I would have to get back to you on that one.
Okay, thank you. Berrigan Tank Paddock and dams, has all that work's been completed or is there still some outstanding?
The works under the project that was funded for, that's all completed, but there's additional work that needs to be done around some CCTV and understanding where some of the pipes under the road go, so yeah, around the assets and the conditions.
Okay, thank you. And my last one is Berrigan Sports Ground internal roof tiles and the smoke detector, the smoke alarm, has that been completed?
Some of the roof tiles have been done, but we're waiting for more. And the smoke alarm has been checked and tested and will be refitted. And we're reminding the users they shouldn't be touching those things because they're hardwired and not part of their operation.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay. Any other motions without notice or questions without notice? Okay, thank you. We will now move to the Mayor's report. So 27th of October, I attended not quite all of the ARIC meeting for Councillor Payne online. That was to review the statements and some other matters. 28th of October, I attended dinner with some of the Ramjo board in Baruga. I couldn't attend the Ramjo meeting the next day. Thank you, Councillor Healy, for stepping in for Councillor Payne after who was stepping in for me. Bit of juggling going on there. On the 29th of October in Canberra, Councillor Brooker and I met with the Water Minister's office. Unfortunately, it was the day before the environmental legislation was tabled, and 1 hour out of Canberra we received a phone call saying that the minister was dealing with the legislation, but we did get to speak with his water advisor his wife has a relative who had a farm on Back Baruga Road, who knew the area quite well. It was a very good discussion. We're having ongoing discussions, and he says that the Water Minister owes us a meeting, so that will happen hopefully in the new year. But that was a productive meeting, and we gave them some feedback on various things, including the MDBA. They went very kind words, and the Murray-Darling Basin Plan, how that should be dealt with, and how the water buybacks are an issue for our farming community. 30 October, we had the extraordinary meeting. 31 October, Councillor Brooker and I did the Coffee with a Councillor in Baruga. It's often the same people, and it was again. On that same day, the PGA Associates, the national championship was at Baruga, and I was part of the trophy presentation. 5th of November, we had our professional development workshop. 6th of November in Corowa, I did the 72-hour video filming. I did not realise they wished that I had memorised the script, which I had not, and I had to read it from about 10 metres away. So that was fun, but it worked. So anyway, 11th of November, I had Remembrance Day in Cobram and Baruga, and I had the Baruga Advancement Group meeting. Last week, the CEO and I travelled to Sydney, and on the 13th of November, we met, being Thursday, we met with Minister Moriarty, who is responsible for Sustainable Communities Program, which is the compensation package in relation to the farming, the water buybacks. We talked about how we feel the money should be going back to the farmers and those sorts of things. Talked about country university centres, and also talked about communications and how they communicate with the farming community to make sure that they know about the process, about the funds. Feedback we had was they'd never heard of it, and we also mentioned, of course, they've already put $4 million towards Baruga for Billinginya. So that was good. We received a late request on Wednesday last week for an urgent meeting with the Parliamentary Secretary for Health while we were in Sydney. So I don't know how many cages we rattled to get that, but we did get it. And so that was with Dr. Michael, his name, I've forgotten it now, begins with H. Holland. Dr. Michael Holland, MP for Bega, Parliamentary Secretary for Health. I knew everything except for his last name. And so I did put together a very last minute paper. We raised issue of the lack of a CT scanner in the Finley Hospital upgrade. We talked about the lack of dialysis chairs. We talked about the ambulance situation in Tokemall. We gave him the statistic. There's a young lady who's been helping me with statistics from our GIPA. Less than 2% of Category 1 ambulances attending in Tokemall make the 8.6 minute target time, less than 2%. There was a representative there from the Minister's office who said he was alarmed. It's about time. Mm-hmm. We also talked about the lack of a cath lab in the vicinity, the nearest one. That's when if you have a suspected heart attack, you need to have the tests. Hour and a half to Albury, 3 hours to Melbourne. There's not even one in Shepparton, so we talked about that. It was a very good meeting. Dr. Holland is the co-chair of the Friends of Stroke initiative. There's a new telestroke initiative in New South Wales. Apparently, someone in Griffith had got saved within 34 minutes. My point was that if you live in Finley, you don't even get diagnosed. Mm-hmm. And it's not good enough. And I think I said something like us being the sweet spot of vulnerability. And we seem to have furious agreement, CEO. And I suspect that we could be seeing a CT scanner and a dialysis. Don't know about an ambulance, but I'm going to touch wood. So I think it was a good meeting. He did ask to see the clinical services plan, and we explained how deficient that was and also out of date. So it was a good meeting. So we'll see how that pans out. We should follow that up with a letter, I think, soon. The Murrumbidgee Local Health District splitting inquiry is currently out there for submissions, and I've written the first draft, and we will work more on that and actually put an advocacy plan around that on those particular 4 matters that I mentioned, and we will make a song and dance about it, and I think it's a good opportunity to do so. In that evening on the Thursday, we went to the Governor's reception at Government House in Macquarie Street. The Governor, of course, came to Tokemall a couple of years ago. Her offsider remembered me, so that was quite nice. And thankfully I remembered her name, so that was good. And the Governor also remembered and spoke fondly. She asked about the Bend where we'd had a meal and it wasn't open at the time, so that was good. We went to Country Mares on Friday, and on the way out I bumped into Nicole Overall, the Nationals MLC, who is also assisting with our health matters, so that was good. Yesterday, I had to get up very early and go and launch the Murray Paddle in Tokemwal. Very early indeed, but I did the gun thing and off they went. So that was a big crowd there, and apparently they've been ending in Tokemwal but haven't been starting in Tokemwal because of the river levels over past years, so it's good to have them there and staying for the evening and starting again the next morning, so that's good. And then this afternoon, just prior to council, I had a meeting with the Tokemwal Ambulance Committee. I debriefed them on the meeting with the Parliamentary Secretary, and I also, the young lady who's been assisting with the statistics for the ambulance came and demonstrated all her statistics, which will get her to come and do that for us once we've got we're waiting GIPA for the last financial year. When we've got all the data, I will get her to come and do that. They were delighted. It was not by the actual information, but by actually having it presented in a way that is compelling.
Having somebody actually be able to present.
He
the real
knows what
data.
to do. Like, we've got this information. How can we make it work for us? And she's come out with these lovely dashboards and these statistics, which are alarming. That's all from me. Would someone like to move my report? Councillor Natikoa, seconded Councillor Payne. All in favour of receiving
Can I just have a
Thank
question on that
Yes.
last item that you spoke about? So did you speak about the CERT program at your meeting with the ambulance subcommittee, and whereabouts is that at?
There's only been 3 volunteers and it's parked.
Okay.
Yep. And we raised with the Parliamentary Secretary that, you know, thanks for the offer. We tried. We did try. We had a number of meetings. We weren't going to give it a half go, but it didn't work. Move on.
So in your opinion, does that strengthen or weaken the conversations you had with Dr. Hulland? And
Strengthened, because we tried. We gave it a genuine crack. We did what they asked us to do.
Yep.
And now here we are, and we have these statistics that we had previously, but we hadn't been able to present them in this way. And the minister's officer who was there he was beside himself. He just didn't buy almost everything we said. So getting a spotlight on our community during this inquiry will be important leverage. All right, we'll come to our reports for everybody else. Councillor Payne, would you like to go first?
I only got one. I attended the coffee with the councillor on the 7th of November. Just lots of little community issues of mostly communication, which we're well aware of within council. We're still having those issues, and some maintenance issues that I forwarded on, and just a few wants and needs of the town. Hard rubbish is a big one, and a splash park and adventure park for Berrigan. So we don't have a lake or anything like that. So something good for our town. But it was noted by one of the community members and followed up backed by another community member that council staff are doing a bloody good job. So, yeah, it was good. But that's all from me.
Thank you. Councillor Natikoa.
So on the 3rd of November, I attended the ARIC training. And on the 8th, Councillor Hannon and I had the couple with a councillor. We only had 3 people that came that day, but I've provided a report to Lynn. One of the biggest, I guess there's probably was 2 themes in that. One was the pedestrian crossing and one was the railway precinct, I guess. But I've itemised all that for Lynn to circulate. But that's it.
Thank you. Councillor Hannon.
yeah, I attended the cuppas with Councillor Natikoa, but highlighting the pedestrian crossing, which is not only was raised on that day, it's been raised with the Vice President of the Chamber of Commerce and a business owner of Better Electrical. He gets numerous complaints about the crossing on a daily basis because obviously they think that he's the President of the Chamber or the acting, and I was driving through there today and there was no cars in that section of the street and the signs are visible, but if you come through in a truck, they're probably below your eye line, those pedestrian crossing signs, like so. And I think that's where the major concern is that if those signs could be somehow elevated a bit more so that people could actually visually see them, because if you think about the amount of trucks that go through, the Rams, the Land Cruisers, the trucks, small rigid vehicles, all that sort of stuff, cars are actually probably in the minimum at the moment. And as I said, I could see it, and I could see the crossing visually both sides because there's no cars there. As soon as you put cars there, you are not seeing anybody on that pedestrian crossing until they're actually on the pedestrian crossing. And one of the comments was made that there used to be like a zigzag, painted zigzag or whatever, where the old one was. Is that going to go back there? Just so that there is some sort of, hang on, you're coming up to now a pedestrian crossing, as opposed to your, 20 metres out and you see a yellow sign out the corner of your eye and you go, oh, I've got to stop here.
In regard to that, there is still line marking to be done on that crossing. Yes, the standard around that crossing has changed. They used to have the signs over the road. They have taken them away because of the size of the trucks that do come now and over dimensional. So a lot of these signages have changed to the sides of these roads. But this is Transport New South Wales Road and their approval, so we need to make sure we document this, and we are in discussion around the concerns that the community have with that. So yeah,
that was the comments I gave to the Vice President of the Chamber, is that every time somebody comes in, it's not his role to document it through the council website, but they need to be encouraged to do that so that we've got the evidence so that we can actually say we need to put pressure on, the mayor needs to put some more advocacy pressure on, and say that whilst we're very appreciative of the works that have been done, it's taken 30 years to get that pedestrian crossing closed. Surely we can get the signage and the awareness of it right, and it doesn't take another 30 years like possibly Telstra.
Before somebody gets hurt.
Well, that's right. And the other one was I just attended the Heritage Tourism talk by Tony Smith, who's the Heritage Advisor from Bendigo, there was about 35 to 45 participants there, industry participants and council representatives. Very, very interesting and understanding the way that they do stuff in Bendigo, but relative to the point around our communities of, when's too much enough and when's not enough, just for that highlight on the certain aspects of tourism that we can, populate throughout our shire. So it's great. Yeah, it's good. That's all for me.
Excellent, thank you. Councillor Brooker?
Sorry, I've just got to turn the microphone off. We've got the radio going in the background. So I've had a fairly quietish month. On the 22nd of October, I attended the Rural Regional Libraries meeting. The 29th of October, I went to Canberra with Mayor Julia. As she said, it was very productive. 31st of October, coffee with a councillor. The 5th of November, the development session. The 11th of November, the BAG meeting. And that's me.
Thank you, Councillor Brooker. Councillor Dennis?
Thank you. I attended the coffee with the councillor on the 1st of November in Tocumwal and found it was very productive. I had lots of people come and visit. And interesting, a point that we've made earlier about the speed through the main street of Tocumwal. And it was interesting that someone mentioned about the crossing there as well being where the people use it most. And I believe that has been brought up in many other council meetings. And it was resolved that it was not viable at the time. I don't know what those are. I haven't looked at them to do a cross-reference just yet. I've also put everything together and forwarded that through so that we can share with everyone at a later date on the issues that were raised. And it was quite interesting. There was a fair few issues that were raised in relation to the Tocumwal foreshore and with the plans that are being discussed as well. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dennis. Councillor Stringer?
I had tea with people of Tocumwal on the 19th by accident. because I was just sitting there having a cup of tea, and they came up to me just at not the fifth order, the one down the street, and everything that came out of everybody's mouth concerned the crossing.
Yeah.
It can't be seen. They're tired of the growth. We could at least get the lines repainted. They're worn out. That was just what everybody that I spoke to all had the same complaint about the crossing not being safe. So I said I'd pass it on, and I have. Did you hear that? That's good. That was it for me.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Stringer. Councillor Healy?
Thank you, Mayor. I attended Ramjo on your behalf and also Councillor Payne's behalf, who were both unable to attend. And I've attended the Berrigan Tidy Towns and Conservation meeting, and they were very grateful for the support of the water tower project. And if you haven't seen it, pop out before you head back to your respective towns. It's looking great. We had our workshop here and also the coffee with the councillor, which was really quite positive, and I have some notes to come back to Lynn on that, but really there's a lot that's going well, I think, and we were probably lucky. There is some conversation around crossings for Berrigan Channer Street, but that can all come back in our feedback. Thank you.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Oh, sorry,
Yeah,
sorry,
go
Mayor.
ahead.
One other thing I had the privilege of today, I was invited to speak at the Finley High School to the SRC, not on behalf of council, but just as a leader. And I used that time to gather some information from our young people around their thoughts on our community and also their hopes for our community. So I'll also do a summary and send that to yourself. But we're starting to build a relationship there where we can jump in on their meetings, which is good.
Excellent. Well, thank you, councillors, for your reports. Did you have a report, CEO, that you wish to make?
Oh, probably a request, actually.
Yes.
Just notice that the councillors have had their coffee with the councillor, and we've received some of that feedback. Would be good to get all of that into us, and we'd like to bring that back to a council meeting. I think, which is normally what was done in the past, and wanted to make sure it's done this time in a more timely fashion.
Very good. Excellent. Thank you. All right. So our next ordinary council meeting will be on Wednesday, 3rd of December at 9:30 a.m. following a citizenship ceremony in the chambers here at 56 Channer Street, Berrigan. There being no further business, I'll close the meeting at 4:55 p.m. Thank you, everyone.